that.
I want to get some clarity, if that's okay,
Sure.
about looking at two conjunctives. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to go back to the definition of a conjunctive, which is freedom with one limitation.
Yeah,
Okay.
one and only one limitation.
If we have more than one limitation, then we have contradictions, correct?
Right,
And
right.
it causes problems, and that's when people have conflict and they start fighting. So,
They fight when there's no limitations either.
yeah, yeah, okay,
So they fight
yeah,
either
okay.
way. But what happens is people want to live in the limitations with no freedom, or they want to live in the freedom with no limitations. Your religious friends want to live in the freedom with no limitations.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they're destroying themselves. The
Oh,
people who live in limitations are destroying other people.
okay. Right. So the conjunctive, or the two things that I want to look at, I want to go back to the source of what people are basing their thoughts around. Okay. The books. You could pick whichever Bible you want, whether it's New or Old Testament. We don't say Old Testament, we say Torah, by the way. Torah is what the Jews have, and Injil is the Bible. Did you know that, by the way?
I did not know that. Thank you.
Injil is the Bible. Now, Injil then got split into lots of different things, and some of it got taken out and some of it got pumped back in. So then it branched off into Protestant and Orthodox and Catholicism. And so there's so many different versions of what's right and wrong within Christianity, which is another whole kettle of fish. Okay. Between the conjunctive, if you like, of the Bible, so the Injil and the Torah, one says yes, one says no. Okay. Like you can't eat pigs. You can't, the Jews don't eat pigs. The Muslims say you shouldn't eat pigs. Going back to things like circumcision, like the Jews do it, the Muslims do it, the Christians don't do it. So the Christians are the one that seems to do a lot of things that, or don't do a lot of things that the other ones do. Okay. So how would you pick out, how would you pick out a limitation between, say, the Bible and the Quran? This is so the Quran would have one limitation, I guess, and the Bible would have one limitation. I'm trying to understand how would you go about the truth between the two things?
So the thing is you'd have to have an accurate interpretation, a non-contradictory interpretation of each book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really where you're starting. And
Okay.
so that the issue is all these denominations of Christianity are all answers to how they make their beliefs non-contradictory to a right and just God. That's what they all are. And they're all wrong. They're all wrong. So if you look at it this way, if you took a piece of paper and wrote God up at the top, level one, and then you wrote at level two, you wrote the five religions,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Hindu, Muslim, Christianity, Buddhism, you know, Jewish. If you put those five, that would be at level two. So level two is those five. Now at level three,
Mm-hmm.
you've got all these, different, denominations of Christianity, and you got all these different explanations of Islam. You got all these different explanations of Hinduism. It's like now you're down at the third level where it's just frayed like crazy.
John,
You
can I
can't.
interrupt you? Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
I think at level two, there's two categories. And shall I say what I think they are?
Sure.
So the people who believe in God, okay, and the non-believers. And by the non-believers, I would then underneath that say the people who believe in like 100 gods, or the people who believe in no God. I would put that as a separate thing. So that would be that level three. Um, Underneath the believers in the one God, I would then put down the five fractions of the five books that came with it. Let's not worry about the translation. So
That's all level three. That's
yeah,
all
that would
level
be level
three.
three. But I
Right.
wouldn't put Hinduism at level two amongst the believers. I would want to categorize that with believers, non-believers.
Well, now that's where there's your contradiction.
Why?
I'm just talking about a belief.
Yeah.
These are beliefs, not believing in God. If that's a belief, they need to explain it, but
Okay.
they can't. They can't explain it. What you just did is you just introduced a contradiction at the second level.
Did
And
I?
it's like,
How?
yeah, it's like no wonder we have wars in the world.
Why? Because I'm trying to say people who believe
No,
in
because
God.
you're already doing analysis. I'm doing
Oh,
synthesis, which is the way to fix everything in the world. God never solved a problem and used analysis when it dealt with people. God
no.
always dissolved.
Why five? Why not all religions? Because you got people who.
Because I think all the other religions fit under it. If you want to call Hindu the multi-god religion, they call Hindu the multi-god religion. Because here's what'll happen.
Mm,
Someone who says, I don't believe in Hinduism, will tell me, but they believe in all these gods. And then
mhm,
I'll just go, well, wait a minute. So you don't believe A, B, C, and D? No, I do believe that. Hindus believe that too. Well, I don't believe the rest of Hinduism. No kidding.
mm,
But you're still under the basic tenet of
mhm,
Hinduism. If you believe in all these gods, you've got to, streamline this. Our brains are made to do analysis. Our brains are made to instantly take things apart. And
mhm.
that's everything you've said. If you were to replay this whole thing, well, I want to take this one apart and I want to take that one apart. It's like, I know that's what our brains do. That's where racism and sexism comes from. Well, we got to resist that. We got to synthesize and go backward step. And this is a great example. You and I talking of the problem in the world. I'm
Yeah.
in the good position going, look at the way to fix everything is to go out to the biggest system and be synthesis first. And you're going, yeah, 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 but I want to analyze. Okay, then keep having your wars. Keep killing people.
So
Let me
when
know when you're
you
done killing
when
all
you
the people and you're ready to hear me.
so when you put Hinduism and you put like the Christianity and the Jews and the Muslims all in the same level too,
Yeah,
would you not want to add things like, I don't know, whatever the Red Indians believe in, or whoever worships the fire, or whoever worships a cow? I don't know, other stuff,
you
right?
don't think that's a form of Hinduism or Buddhism? It depends on what they believe. Buddhism is really trying to understand the mind. That's their whole point. Their whole point is if we got rid of all the trauma, God would flow through a person and they would achieve a nirvana. You could put Buddhism on one end of the scale,
Yeah.
which in a sense believes in God, but the focus is not God. The focus is you internally. And you could put Hinduism on the other side of the scale, which is there's thousands of gods.
Okay.
And then
And
you put the other three in the middle. So to me, there's your spectrum. If you want to analyze this down to a spectrum, so maybe
mhm,
we limit the number of wars we have, I can go for that. I'm
come
being a
in.
patient God right now, talking
Yeah.
to a human who is bent on destruction. So what's your next question, human?
Oh, my next question is where would you put the people who go around sacrificing children, believing that's going to get them to heaven? Where would you put them?
If that's why I would want to understand what they're believing in. Are they believing their God or are they believing in a bunch of gods?
My understanding of them is, again, I might be wrong. They've done this thing where they have flipped any place that there's a mention of a god, it's almost like they've replaced that with Lucifer. So it's almost like devil worshipping. And they believe devil is their god. And so they're doing the opposite of what they're meant to be doing for the devil. Okay. So they find ways to sacrifice things. It's
Well, in some ways, I would have to know their distinct beliefs, but in some ways, that
oh,
would fit under Christianity.
so it's
It's just
going,
misapplied.
okay,
It's
yeah,
you're basically saying we do everything about Christianity except we flip this one word. Well, then I guess technically that'd be under the Christianity
they've
umbrella. They're not,
mm-hmm,
but they fit under that tree.
mm-hmm.
Yes. If I've had to put them anywhere, they'd fit under that tree, but they're not. And I could ask him three questions and show you right away they're not Christian. I could show you Bibles that deny Jesus is the Son of God. How do you think people handle that? So where's this Bible? Where would you categorize this Bible?
That's the kind of book I would want to look at and then find the differences. The people that I saw that got signed into that kind of, I only call it a cult, were almost tricked into thinking they were signing a contract, but later on they were told that they can't get out of it, that there's a punishment as death if you try and leave the cult. But they all look after each other. And they've recruited a whole bunch of people who are very popular. So that's the marketing for them. And yeah, they're getting rich. I mean, it's a big problem to undo. And we're all fighting around the tangents of what's going on in this country.
Well, because we are focused on the tangible. They're
Yeah.
losing. Those people you just explained are losing. All people who have great mental health look to the qualitative and the intangible. All people who have bad mental health, whether we see it today or whether they crash down the road, look quantitative and tangible. So those people are losing. And their job is to convince us that they're winning. So we take ourselves out of the winning position. So why even care about it? This is one of the reasons the Bible and Atlas Shrugged both say evil is unsustainable, it's contradictory, it'll fall by itself. Two things. Number one is we should be finding good people and making them great. Second of all, we can experience all the benefits right now that are really what you can do in eternity. So here's the problem. If you think that happiness is having stuff, then don't worry about eternity. You won't be invited to paradise because that's what paradise is going to be: community and interaction and intangible and qualitative. Don't worry about it.
Okay, synthesis. Let's take the pharmaceutical company and what happened over COVID.
God adjusts to people. And
Yeah.
so he can talk to their language because he's got to reach them because people don't want to embrace, growth mindset and reach up to God. I got it. Here's a synthesis question. What if God wanted COVID to happen? Not that you have to believe it or agree with it. Tell me a reason why he would want that to happen. All you have to do is be creative. A reason I would consider is so he can objectively find out who's really pursuing him, who's really pursuing the intangible and the qualitative. So I called it the practice test. That was the name of the article. It's like, what if this is a practice test? What if God has taken away all your stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So you make a determination now. I'm going to pursue God more, or I'm gonna go in a hole because I lost my stuff, and stuff's the most important thing, and that's my God. What if that's the pre-test for a coming test? And the pre-test helps you see what you got wrong. And the over 100 people I helped through COVID who thrived
Mm-hmm.
realized, okay, I'm valuing the wrong things. And they used COVID to value the right things. And now they're soaring today. So maybe God actually did us a favor going, there's gonna be a final moment when it's like, okay, you people over here, you people over there. And everybody goes, what? Why am I over here? Because you value this. Why didn't you warn me about this? COVID. How'd you handle COVID? That was your pretest. You should have learned from that. That's the point of giving a pretest before the final, is to help people see what they need to improve on. Well, I'm not saying it was, but what if COVID was the practice test? How did I always ask people, how'd you handle COVID? I know people came through COVID going, you know what? I am not worried about stuff. I'm not thinking about stuff, and I'm happier than I've ever been. And I'm going to continue going down that path because this is eternity. Eternity looks like this. Eternity doesn't look like people being famous or tangible or quantitative. And if that's where your brain is, you'll be miserable in paradise. So it's a good thing you won't be there.
I think it all goes back to the reasons, our why, really, of why we do
Yep.
something.
Because that's where we see the contradiction.
Yeah.
That's why.